Mirian, thank you so much for joining us. When some people think of Indigenous, especially here in the region and where we live, they think of the Americas, but we know that they're Indigenous in Africa, that continent, in the Asia Pacific. How do you define Indigenous?
There is a criteria, of course, at least at the international level. Member states agreed that there are some criteria that they should take into consideration when they would like to discuss the issues of Indigenous peoples. Number one, of course, is a minority. A population that is smaller in number, but of course in Bolivia, for example, that's not the case because over there they are the majority. So probably this criteria will not fit. But also is their connection with the lands and territories and the language that they speak, the governance that they actually implement within their communities. So there are some criteria that themselves, they identify as who are Indigenous. But also, number one principle, if we would say, is the right for self-determination. So that's really important because you can recognize yourself as a member of an Indigenous community, but also the community must recognize you as a member of that community.
What are some of the biggest and most urgent issues for Indigenous people around the world?
Well, of course, the situation of Indigenous peoples, it's different from region to region, country to country, even between communities. But most of the issues that we have here at the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues are land issues, territories, natural resources. People are dying because some states and companies are taking away their lands and territories. Unfortunately, they don't have the proper access to services, especially education, health. Those are not culturally appropriated. And recently, very sadly, they are migrating not only to the cities, but to different countries out of the borders. So those are more or less some of the issues that are affecting Indigenous peoples all around the world, but also because the instability of some states, Indigenous peoples also are frequently killed sometimes. They are persecuted because they are defending their territories. So that's also very, very unfortunate. For Indigenous women, for example, also is very sad to see that because of these national companies are going into their territories, many issues like violence against Indigenous women, trafficking, also are affecting most of them.
One of the biggest issues of our time, of course, is climate change. What has been the impact of climate change on Indigenous communities, especially those with a lot of natural resources and infrastructure? What has been that impact on them?
Indigenous peoples, they count around 476 million in some 90 countries. And they take care of around 80% of the most diverse places in the world. But they still protecting, they are, keeping all the environment as it is. However, nowadays, because of this variety of crises, especially financing, a food crisis, and it's becoming more and more worse, and we can see a climate crisis that is not only affecting Indigenous peoples, but also the entire humanity. And they didn't contribute to that. So in this case, because they depend so much on their lands, territories, they are suffering more and more, because when these companies enter into their homes, they are pushed away and they don't have a place where to go. And what they have to do, they need to go outside of their communities, they need to go to the cities to do what? If they don't know what else to do, then they become how can I say it? They inhabit the poor areas of the big cities. So that's, it's connected. Unfortunately, all these issues are connected very well, and in some cases we don't want to see what's the roots of the problem.
Mirian Masaquiza, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.